just never know. It could be something right past the turnpike gates, but you'll just never know. If my velocity starts to make you sweat, then just don't let go. And if the heaven ain't got a vacancy, then we just get up and go.
Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome along to the Overhead Cam GT500 Winter Championship. This is round 5. 2 races here this evening at Autopolis, and it is going to be round 9 and 10. It was very confusing. Sorry, races 9 and 10. And we have a very special treat for you this evening. We have the safety truck driver, Jordan. He is here and available. So we are about to get qualifying underway. Oh, just having a quick jump around. And there we go. So it should be the little Acti making its way out of the pits in just a second. So yeah, not only do you have me in the booth, you're also going to have Jordan in the booth as well. Oh, we're looking at the wrong Honda Acti. There we go.
All right, we're leaving now.
So leaving the pits, the cars will hopefully follow in a reasonably respectful way, although we have seen the poor Honda Acti violated many, many times on these outlaps. People suddenly deciding it's the correct thing to do to absolutely murder the poor thing. And while we're just getting qualifying sort of underway and the cars are rolling out, let's have a little bit of a run through the cars that are here on the grid. That is definitely the wrong camera. Oh, yes, and I should definitely say, sponsored by the Driven Show as well. I believe it's podcast and there's YouTube as well. Really, really good episode with Jessica Hawkins, all about Aston Martin F1. Well worth a listen to. Very interesting stuff. Right, let's try and get some better cameras. I always forget that the Honda Acti has the worst cameras in all of the world. So there we go. Right, so here we have some of the drives on the list. We've got Westy in the lovely Toyota Supra. Then we have Liam in the Lost Mary Toyota Supra as well. Then we have Oak Carnwell, who has gone for a different livery this time around. In fact, both the Carnwell boys have changed their liveries just to make it extra hard to deal with. This has gone for a nice black and white Playboy livery. Very snazzy looking car. Then we have the other Carnwell, which I believe is Luke Carnwell, with this lovely Coca-Cola livery on his McLaren GTR Longtail. Good laws, I am going to get in a lot of trouble for saying Nissan GTR, aren't I? I think lots of people are going to be upset. Spitfire right behind him. Sorry, Shitfire. It's getting out of my PC voice and back into the voice I could use in the lovely Ferrari. And then we have just behind him our current championship leader, Overhead Cam himself in the absolutely gorgeous Porsche. Then we have Snooky in yet another one of the lovely Toyota Supras. Racing Franco in one of the brain is breaking this evening. I do apologise. It's been a very odd week this week. That's a Honda NSX. That's definitely not a GTR. It's a Honda NSX. Followed by Dan in yet another one of the NSXs. And then, of course, everyone's favourite. It's Beans. Everyone loves the Beans. Shitbox just behind in the lovely Marlboro livery on that nice NSX as well. Then we got the second of the Ferraris, the Flex Tape Swift #1. Then we have Bladen in the Camel, and he is back from his back injury as well. So back in the racing seat, hoping to redeem himself from his obscure back injury that we had last time round. Then we have Taylor in the standard McLaren F1. So this is not the long tail. This is the short tail, or just the normal one, you might call it. And right at the back of the grid at the moment is the one, the only, the brain rottiest of all the cars. It is, of course, Walmsley, but we just know him as the Cursed One. So Jordan has pulled to the side and is letting everybody get out onto their qualifying laps. No one has, as of yet, set a flyer. This is the out lap. So you'll be jumping back to the pits, no doubt, Jordan, and you can jump into the comms box. Now you're not having to concentrate on trying to get the little Honda Acti to wiggle its way around the circuit.
Yep, that's correct. So my job here is done. I'm going to be going back to the pits in a second, and it will be time for all of the boys to start setting the hottest laps they can set. And good luck to everyone today.
Yeah, very difficult circuit. I think a big one is this one we're coming up towards now. Because you're on board with Westy at the moment. This corner has caught many, many people out in practice. It kind of goes off camber halfway around the corner. And as you can see, it gets very squirrely on the exit as he now comes thundering down the hill. So I think that's going to be the main one, especially lap one when everyone is stacked nose to tail. That could be very, very skittish. I jumped into a couple of the practice races, and it can only be described as a massacre nearly every single lap. It is going to be a bit of a case of survival over skill, I think, this evening. And while we're actually here waiting for people to start setting some fast laps, as there's people nicely spread out, let's have a quick run through the old championship points. So at the moment, Overhead Cam himself is leading the championship with 240 points. Then we've got Luke Carnwell with 221. Third place is Oakley Carnwell with 176. Then we have Cameron Montlake, who has 169. Jake West, or Westy, with 129. Kurt Hall, 112. Matt Snook, 87. Francis Bradfield, 86. So very close between those two. Dan Shan with 60 points. Liam Stephenson with 55. 49 points goes to the Cursed One. Toby Dart, 35. Samuel Barrett, 25. Jamie with 25. Bladen with 14. And at the bottom of the moment is Taylor with 4. So everybody has managed to gain some points at some point over the championship, which is good. I know there was a bit of a joke about if someone managed to finish without any points whatsoever, there was going to be a bit of a joke prize for them. But yeah, hopefully not. Now that everyone's got points. So unless they drop out, it should be fine. But I'm seeing a lot of love in the chat for the old Beans. So let's get some Beans action on the screen while everyone's still qualifying. At the moment, it is Luke Carnwell who has set the fastest lap with a 1:42.288. But I think it is a case that lots and lots of drivers here aren't necessarily going to be setting their best laps simply due to consistency. It's such a hard circuit. And obviously, you've driven the fastest car out there. You've driven the little Honda Acti around this circuit. Just let the listeners at home, or the viewers at home, sorry, let them know what it's like to drive such a powerful beast around such a technical circuit.
Honestly, it's actually a lot more difficult than you think, because that car, the little Honda Acti, the way you drive it is completely different to the way you would drive any other car on this track. So in something like that, you actually find yourself flooring it 90% of the time near the red line. And it's quite easy to forget that there are actually some corners you have to brake for. So as slow as that thing is, you can still find yourself overcooking corners, and it's quite scary.
Yeah, I had a little play in it earlier, and I absolutely binned it here. Much like Beans is very nearly done, on board with them at the moment, and that is that corner I'm on about. You can just see in the mirror as well. I believe that is one of the NSXs coming up behind him. Nicely controlled there. It'd be good to see the the NSX is having a good round this time around. They were pretty good last time at Brands Hatch. Seemed to suit the car quite well. And I think the NSX should be a bit of a strong shout here. You can never discount the Supras, as they do seem to be ridiculously good on pretty much every circuit. But the start is pretty weak for them. They do seem to bog down significantly off the line unless you really light the tyres up and then try and balance that sort of lost grip with trying to get yourself to go forward without bogging the engine. But coming towards the end of the lap now is Beans, and coming across the line, and that was a 1:49. So probably not as quick as he may have wanted to go, but that wasn't a bad lap whatsoever. Just having a little look now. So that was... I've just realised my timing board's gone a bit wobbly, hasn't it? I'm missing one of the timing boards on the left-hand side, which is slightly annoying. So I don't know how to get that one back. Had lots of issues today with apps and stuff not working, all self-inflicted. Cameron's probably going to yell at me now, isn't he?
So I'm just seeing we've actually had a 141 now as well. I think the previous fastest was the 142. We've now got someone into the 141s. So limits are being pushed here. Tyres are now warmed up at this point of the drive as well. So I think we're getting to the point where some of the drivers are actually going to be getting a bit more comfortable in their seats and seeing how much further they can push their cars before it goes too far.
Yeah, I think that's Westy that's managed to do that one. Why can't I seem to get my things to come up? Do apologise, everybody at home. Slightly annoying, as it's only showing me the latter half of the grid as well. It's not showing me the front of the grid. And I think the only way to sort of do anything is to go all ugly and have a look. But why am I not seeing my normal stuff? So, oh gosh. So race position is just going to show what I want to see. Yeah, that's just showing me. So we don't want race position. I'll be honest, don't know what's happened there. So this might be slightly more difficult than normal to actually to call this one. Sorry, mate. Coming into it straight away, and yeah, in at the deep end, and immediately telling you, oh yeah, it's not all working properly, which is just great, which is just fantastic. That's exactly what we want. At the moment, Westy still holding on to pole position with that 141. We'll see if this could be an improvement here. It was a 141.3, still pushing. Whether this is just practicing, no improvement that time around. Let's put the main man himself on the screen for a minute or two, because doesn't seem like an overly Porsche friendly circuit, it has to be said.
I do believe driving these Porsches takes a different kind of skill. There's a lot of cars I've had it go in, and every time you drive a Porsche, it genuinely feels like they have their own personality. That engine being in the back just changes the dynamic more than you'd think. The way you brake and turn into corners, you have to behave yourself in a way where you'd probably get away with it in other cars, but if it's a Porsche and you do it wrong, you'll pay for it quite severely.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those cars. I've had a bit of a try and drive it, and yeah, have to admit that there's no way I could have finished any races, let alone win any races. And a quick apology to the viewers at home. I may have forgotten to unmute the actual car audio. So while we've been listening to lovely car audio on my end, everyone at home has just been listening to us chinwag. So apologies about that, but we're here. We now have cars, and for that we will find ourselves a Ferrari, and we'll jump on it, because it does sound incredibly good, the old Ferraris, when you're sort of sat there. I think it's Shipbox one. No, it's not the Shipbox one. It's Ship Buyer. That the one. It's too many shits. Far too many shits. Right. And go for my favourite. That on the side. It's incredibly loud, so everyone at home is now going to complain it's probably too loud, but there's nothing I can do. It's the loudest car on the grid. That whine There's absolutely lovely straight cut gears mixed in with the Ferrari engine soundtrack.
Oh, that's worth the money itself.
It is a beautiful sounding car. Right towards the end of the lap, see what they can do. Oh, I have just noted. Oh, it is still Westy in pole position, isn't it, with the 131? For a minute, I thought it had changed, but it is still Westy. Some lovely shots available. Let's. There was one of the cars I was on a little bit of a look round earlier on, and there was some slightly obscure internals on the car, and I can't remember whose car it was. So let's go on a little adventure. Oh, Westy immediately on the dirt, and then back to the pits. Was it Westy's? It wasn't Westy's. Was it Liam's? Yes, it was Liam's car. So this is the Lost Mary mobile.
Oh, wow.
The lesser cursed car, but now it's kind of a bit cursed now. There's a lot of faces. And do you even know whose face this is? I personally don't, but you may know whose face that is.
I actually don't know whose face that is, and I'm wondering if it's possibly his own. But I've got no idea, and personally, I would not be able to concentrate with that going on in the inside of the car.
Well, I also think, I know Cameron has been doing a lot of tweaking to people's liveries to make sure, they're just sort of, making sure they're all up to scratch and as they should be. So I do think that he then sends me a file with the liveries to upload, and they're not necessarily the same as the drivers. So he may not actually be able to see all that nonsense going on inside the car. But everybody at home and ourselves are now aware of just how ridiculous the liveries look. So, it is a bit of a brain rot championship, but we're fine with that. We're happy with a little bit of brain rot from time to time. It's all behind him as well. It's everywhere.
Oh my god, the entire back. Oh, wow.
Just every surface that could have a face has got a face. And we do love a face, so that's absolutely brilliant. Right, let's try and go for some maybe slightly nicer shots so we can see more than just some poor soul's face. Westy still leading at the moment. Let's jump on board one of the Carnwells, because they have been very, very fast throughout the entire championship. And again, going to quickly say it, I do apologise to anyone at home that is normally used to all the deltas and everything being on the left-hand side of the screen. I'm also used to the deltas being there. For whatever reason, they have vanished. I did have a Google, and as far as I'm aware, all my normal apps are all installed, because you have to mod the living hell out of Assetto Corsa to make it so you can do this sort of thing. But for whatever reason, no, it's just not there, and I can't seem to switch the thing on. So it might be a little bit of a case of seeing how it all goes. In fact, actually, Dan, you still have access to the server. It might be worthwhile you sitting in the server simply for the fact that you will have access to the leaderboard, won't you? You can see the leaderboard on your screen, I would presume. Oh, the silence is palpable. That's a worry.
Okay, sorry, I just had a muted moment there. But
No,
yeah,
it's
I
all
can
right.
still see the leaderboard at the bottom of the screen, all the names just above that as well. So yeah, I can still see what's going on from here. It's showing number 1, which is still Wes with a 141, then number 7 onwards.
Yeah, I think that's an issue on my end, because I'm like in a car. It's showing me as in 16th place. So
Yeah.
I think what's happened is then I can't actually see what's going on between 1 and 7, really annoyingly. But I don't know if you're in the server, you may be able to see that footage. Oh, hang on, I've just found something. What is this? What is this I've just found hiding? I found something. We don't know what that is. There's something there, but it's not working. So there we go. That little arrow I'm moving around in the top corner, that should be what we'd normally see, but for whatever reason it's hidden and I can't, there's nothing to click on to do anything with it. Oh joy, great fun for everybody. Apologies. So it's all gone a little bit Pete Tong already, and we haven't even started the main race yet. There's a whole plethora of cars. It looks like Bladen in amongst a whole group of them. He's got Taylor just in front of him. And then it looks like Snooky and Shitfire as well. So it might be qualifying, but they are starting to stack up a little bit closer to each other now.
So, as you may have seen when I first pulled over in the Acti, some people went straight away. Others actually stopped pretty much right next to where I pulled in. Reason they actually do this, for those of you who don't know and were wondering, well, why aren't they going yet? It's actually so they can give each other some space, because the cars are not all the same pace. Some of the cars have more power, some have less, and it's also down to the drivers as well. And when you're qualifying, you actually want to have the room to set the fastest lap without catching up to anyone and being slowed down by them. So quite often you'll see, bloody hell, that was a huge off just then.
Yeah,
So you'll actually see quite often cars will give each other room before going for it, just so they can have an undisturbed lap.
Yeah, as you were saying, not all the cars sort of perform in exactly the same way. They should be fairly similar on lap times. There is a little bit of sort of what you so balance of performance tweaking to make sure that not any car is ridiculously overpowered, coughing and then putting inverted comments, the Supras. But the idea is that they all should be able to lap reasonably the same, but obviously, as you were saying, they're going to be sort of more, some are going to have more performance in a straight line, some are going to have better turning, braking. Really a case of learning the car and then working out what you can do to try and take advantage of that. You know, if you've got something that's great on the brakes, then you can sort of try and go for a bit of a lunge. Oh, a big slide there from Taylor. And that's going to definitely kill a bit of time. There's about 56 seconds left on the time for qualifying. So a lot of drivers, this will be their last chance to set a lap. Maybe a few of them. Cam should be able to squeeze another one out, and so should Beans. Beans actually going offline a little bit there to let Cameron through, I think.
Very respectable.
Ooh, big corner cut as well. Trying to get as much speed down the main straight as possible. Seeing if he can take advantage. It does seem to be that the Porsche's main issue is simply traction off the turns, isn't it? It does seem to get rather unsettled and slidey, but Cameron does seem to have a fairly good grip on that Porsche.
Yeah. Very challenging chassis, in my opinion.
Yeah, you would think it would have lots of rear-end grip, seeing as all the weight is over the rear end. You'd expect it to have understeer, but it really doesn't. It just wants to slide everywhere sideways. You sort of hear eking on the power, made even worse by the fact that obviously it's turbocharged as well. So it's not as easy to sort of roll the power on. You sort of you start to apply the throttle, and you suddenly get a great big swath of boost and power, lighting up the rear tyres. So kind of always one of those weird things where you put your foot down, as it comes onto boost you back off slightly, then as you get a bit quicker you can smash your foot back down to the floor again.
Yeah, am I right in saying that this chassis is the one that people often refer to as the Widowmaker?
I believe it is, yes. I believe it is the Widowmaker. It's not that long chassis, is it, really? It's quite a short and wide car. So
I think that's what it is. The wheelbase being short can obviously mean more sketchiness.
Very easy to sort of get the back to step out, and then you suddenly find yourself in a whole world of trouble.
Yeah.
Back to Beans now. Get a bit more Beans action on the screen. For the boys and girls at home, we know you will love the Beans, and this will be its final attempt to set a lap. Where is Beans? Currently in 15th place, so not having a great time. There we go. Right, so we can... Oh, very briefly. I could see the times. And then they've all disappeared away. So the cars should be going to the grid any time soon. I'm trying to think the best way of doing this. I'm so annoyed that this disappeared over here and that I can't seem to do anything with it apart from drag it round. In fact, while we're here, while we're just waiting for the race to start, just going to have a little play and see... Is it part of stereo? Castle? No. It's not. It's one of these. It's not part of comfy map. I don't think it's part of comfy map. Let's right click it and let's see what happens. No, it's not part of comfy map. So there we go. We're just going to have to deal with it, I'm afraid, which is a bit rubbish. Sorry, Dan, that your first time in the booth is with less than ideals. So we'll know what order they're in when they actually go onto the grid, and then we'll go through them all at that point. But at the moment, we are a little bit stuck. Although what we do know is that it's definitely Westy that is on pole position. Oh, there's a nice wall in the way there. Lovely. What a lovely wall. But there you go. You get a nice idea of what the cars all look like stacked up at the moment. So we've obviously got Westy there, Liam, Oak Carnwell, Luke Carnwell, Shipfire, Overhead Cam, Snooky, which I refuse to believe is not the Snooky from Geordie Shore. Not Geordie Shore, Jersey Shore, that's the one. Racing Franco in the lovely Zero Fighter NSX. Then we've got Dan in the white JDM Stash NSX as well. I'm not even going to say anything. I've just noticed what it says on the wheel of the Zero Fighter NSX. I cannot say that, but I imagine the driver of that car can. But I am not allowed. So well, there we go. We saw very briefly again who was in pole position and who wasn't. Right, let's jump on. Let's try and get a decent camera shot. Westy's just gone back to the pit for whatever reason. So at the moment, Liam second place. Then it appears to be Overhead Cam in third place. Then Snooky. Then Oak Carnwell. And then a little bit further back, we got Shitfire, Racing Franco, Dan. Let's go back further again. Phil Swift in 10th. Shitbox 12th. 13th is Taylor, Bladen in 14th. And then who is that at the back? I believe that is Archie in 15th place. And then Beans all the way back in 15th place. So it's going to be a little bit higgledy-piggledy. I don't know why Liam has gone back to the pits. That's not intended, I imagine. But let's see if we can get a decent camera angle for the start. That's quite nice. That's better, though. We can see a bit more of the carnage as it ensues. But we get ready to go racing for the 9th time this season. I have no idea why Luke is starting from the pits. Not Luke, sorry, Westy is starting from the pits. But there we go. Obviously, some kind of error has sat him back there. We get ready, waiting for the lights at the moment. When someone's even mapped the horn in, fair play. To bother to map the horn in on a race car. Because you know that is the most important button. It's the most important button to have, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
About 20 seconds away from the start of the race. A little way to go yet. You definitely see the cursed one just absolutely revving the hell out of his engine. Every once in a while you just see these big spits coming out the back of it. Right, lights are going red and we get ready to go racing again for the 9th time in the OHC Championship. Lights go out. There's a non-start from one of the Supras. It's absolute carnage straight away.
What a nightmare. Oh my god. That's an absolute nightmare of a start there.
I'm not sure what happened there. Because of all of that, Westy, even from starting the pits, now finds himself in 4th place. So he'll probably be quite happy with that. Both the Carnwell boys, with their new liveries, already taking the attack to the front of the race. Cambering pushed to the outside a little bit, but has the inside there for turn 3. Very difficult corner here. Even in the Honda Active, it tends to get a little bit sideways. But coming up now, up towards turn 4. And there's a car off in the background. We're going to stick with the main bulk of the action, though, I think. It's probably the safest way to do it. This is the corner. This is the one where everybody makes mistakes. This off camber. The tyres aren't going to be up to temperature. The brakes aren't going to be up to temperature properly either. Sticking with the Playboy F1 at the moment. Most people seem to be getting through. We can see back up the hill. See if anyone gets really squirrely. A little bit of side-by-side action going on further back as well. I think that was Liam who we saw. For whatever reason, I can't seem to get that one up. There we go. So Shitbox is doing all right. We've got the that must have been Shitfire having a good little squabble here. This seems like a nice little battle at the moment. Racing Franco versus Shitfire. Coming towards the end of the first lap, the drivers have already spaced out quite a lot, and that was a bit of a ridiculous start, wasn't it? Really?
That was insane, but it's also funny how quickly they've got back to the start-finish line already.
Yeah, I think each lap is about 1 minute, sort of 40-ish. Obviously, as we know, we saw the
Yeah.
qualifying. So, oh, bit of a move here to the inside. Dan looks down the inside, gets himself
Ooh,
past
very
Snooky. Did kind of shut the door on him a little bit there. Oh, and we just saw,
Yeah.
I think that was Taylor going a bit rallycross and still going rallycross, trying to avoid. I think that was the case that he got.
Now.
There we go. He hasn't dropped all the way back. That's fine. He's still pushing forward. He can still hold on to positions. I think technically, because of the start, he gained positions at the beginning of it. Right, I think Westy is now having a bit more of a squabble, or trying to chase after the back of the Carnwell. The front has broken up a little bit, and we've also now got, I think that's Swift. No, it's not. It is. Who is that little battle? Snooky again, isn't it? Yes. Snooky versus the white NSX of Dan. Those two squirreling around quite a lot. Westy has got himself past, I think that's Oak Carnwell. Oh, another big jump. Going to be good. He obviously overestimated how much pace he could take. He's just about managed to only lose one position. I don't think there was any contact between them, but no doubt post-race, if there was any incidents, words will be had, I imagine. I think that was just a case of maybe overcooked it a little bit. I think Shitfire as well is now starting to have a bit of a battle. The two Ferraris sandwiching the Zero Fighter. This should be where the Ferrari kind of has a bit of an advantage. You can now start to pull away. We can see if we can get that on the wheel action. And he does. He has the power. Breezes on past. And that was incredibly loud on board the Ferrari. I always forget how loud it is. But looking back to the inside of Racing Franco makes that's a big old spin. And yeah, I imagine Shitfire obviously having to wait for a space to get back on the circuit. But he will be mighty, mighty annoyed about that. Taylor.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah, so did you get to race last time round? Am I right in thinking you raced last time?
No, so I haven't partaken in any of the races, but in the very first one, which was on Suzuka, I was the pace car driver for that one as well.
Yes. I knew you'd been involved in some way, shape, or form, and I know you had driven the Active. I couldn't remember. I know there was a guest driver on one of the races. Oh, here we go. The cursed one looking up the inside of Taylor. Can he get it done? Oh, bit of a rub. There's a bit of contact between them, and that has opened the gates up for Bladen as well. Bladen now being able to try and take a bit of advantage and pull his way through. Let's see if we've got any decent onboards on this one. Oh, he does. He goes straight up the inside of Taylor. Taylor makes a little bit of contact with the back of him, but not too much. Didn't unsettle the car. Sadly, there's not. Oh, and then it's the commentator's curse. I cursed him. I jumped on board, and that was the end of that. So now Carnwell versus, I believe that is Snooky. I think that's Oak Carnwell as well. It's not fair having two people with the exact same last name in a race. It does get slightly confusing, especially when they're in the same car.
That McLaren, the sound of that going past us down the straight was incredible.
It does sound absolutely fantastic. I just noticed Westy has had a bit of a mare again and now finds himself right towards the back of the field. So that was on the exit of turn 1. Whether that was contact related or just overcooked it. Maybe got his tyres on the grass and rotated the car, not sure. He tried to have a little look against Taylor.
Between that F1 and that Supra.
Yeah, that was mighty, mighty close. I think that was maybe a little bit opportunistic. Maybe a bit of the old red mist had descended after going off. I'm sure we'll be able to have a chat with him about that off at some point. Right, here we go. We want to get Oak Carnwell is currently battling it out. I believe that is with Snooky again. In fact, let's see if we can get on board that lovely, lovely car. We've got some side shots. That's a very arty, nice shot. There we go. That's what we want to see. We want to look over the rear wing, hovering over that engine as well, so we can hear the lovely McLaren noises coming off it as we look back towards Snooky, getting a little bit squirrely there, coming out of that chicane. It's a very long sweeping chicane, but I would say it's sort of a mixture between S's and chicane because it does tighten a lot more than the actual map tends to show. There we go, Snooky trying to get a good run. Can he start to reel him in towards the end of the straight? At the moment, it looks like the McLaren has the legs though, and it could just continue to open up. Under braking, is there any kind of advantage to be made? Not really. Snooky turning in a little bit later though, trying to maybe get a bit of a faster exit. He is slightly gained, but not enough. Those two looking very, very stalematey at the moment.
They do look very on par considering what cars they are. I mean, a Toyota Supra versus a McLaren. And in this spec, they seem to be, I mean, down the straight, I could barely tell if there was any distance gain or loss, to be honest. If anything, the Supra's actually closer to him now than he was a minute ago.
Which you would think would be the other way around. You look at the long tail and you sort of think that is basically a racing car that they just kind of had to make road legal so it could be homologated. Whereas the Supra was very much in its standard form. Yes, it's sort of, it is the legendary car, oh my god, it's a Supra. But it is a bit of a, a hefty beast, really. It's quite a big old car. It's not, I think when you see a completely stock one, you are slightly surprised by just how kind of bulbous they are, really. Lots of Supra fans will be very upset with what I'm saying now.
So I actually own a Mark IV Supra myself, and it's an all-time dream car of mine. So to see them driving like this in this spec in this form, keeping up with some of the other monsters on this track, is quite, for me as an owner, is actually really good to see.
And you're going to be trying to source a similar body kit for it now. And attacking the back end of it with an angle grinder, taking the rear bumper, half of it off, same as Westy's, who is still trying to find his way back past Shitfire after a terrible start and then a bit of an incident as well. And I think this might be an opportunity. One of the Supras looking very slow down the straight, the Ferrari looking incredibly strong. Let's see if we can get an inside shot. Yes, we can. So Racing Franco just leading this quartet of cars. Shitfire just in front as well in the Ferrari. And we've obviously got one of the other Supras behind as well. But at the moment, Westy looking very, very racy. All over the back of Shitfire, nipping at his heels like a Jack Russell at the postman, and looks to the inside. Can't quite do it. But certainly applying the pressure, taking a slightly tighter line. That Supra does look like such a stable base, which, I mean, obviously, as an owner of a Supra, is it I've never driven one, so is it a fairly stable car to drive, or is it absolutely leery and really just sort of having to hold on as best you can? Ooh, mistake from Shitfire.
So one thing that people don't fully understand about the Mark IV Supra, like a road-going one in real life, is it's not so much a sports car. It's more of a very sporty GT car. So in road car form, it's actually a very lovely, comfortable car to drive. But the moment you put sticky tires and some coilovers on, it becomes a very good handling car. So you don't actually feel the weight of them as much as they are, if that makes sense. But when you talk about a Supra that looks like this, I mean, this car has pretty much got no interior, big turbo. They've actually taken the 2JZ engine out of these, and I think they've put a 4-cylinder in because that engine weighs a lot less than the 2JZ engine that the road car comes with. So you've got a good chassis with good handling, and then you've taken loads of weight out of this thing, and yeah, no wonder it's keeping up with some of the other things on this track, to be fair.
Doing a very, very good job of just absolutely sticking like a turd to a proverbial blanket, really, isn't it? It's just doing an absolutely great job, and say it does look like a fairly decent base to try and race on as well. I think Beans is, oh, there we go, what a great time to
go. Oh, huge accident just then, absolutely huge. But they both joined the tracks as soon as they can because they just don't want to lose any more progress than they already have.
Yeah, that is less than ideal, isn't it? It has to be said. Yeah, I'm not sure what had happened there, whether that was a case of trying to overtake and made a mistake, because he was on the grass way too early to be a mistake on turn-in and way too late to be still recovering from being on the grass from going wide at the final corner. So I don't really know how on earth he ended up there. Just seeing someone in the chat saying about that no chat is showing up on screen. Don't actually do that normally, if I'm honest. We don't put the chat up on the screen. It's simply there for... I will dip in and out of it as much as possible. Oh, another mistake from Shitbox.
Oh, wow.
I did say that corner was going to catch people out.
Yeah.
When you can actually see in the back as well, the cursed one getting all wobbly and out of shape. Let's get the cursed one on screen. You can see that smiling face thundering down the hill. Oh, goodness gracious. That was a proper bit of like Tony Hawk style grinding.
Yeah, that was definitely a bit of a grind there. It looks, from what I'm seeing, it looks like some of these drivers are starting to really push their cars now as well. And of course, that is where more mistakes can be made.
Someone who doesn't appear to be pushing too hard is Luke Carnwell, who has led this race from very earlier on, due to obviously the fact that there was a bit of a pile up at the very start of the race after which one of the that was Snooky. No, not it wasn't Snooky. It was one of the Supras didn't get off the line at all. Whether that was a case of just didn't pull a gear or something, I'm not entirely sure, or was still there with the handbrake on, not trying to pull away. But yeah, Luke Carnwell has absolutely thundered away, so running in first place. Then we obviously have Overhead Cam still pushing hard as well. Then we have Snooky versus Oak Carnwell. These two have put on a fairly decent show for us throughout this entire race, but I think they are now starting to maybe catch up with the back of Cameron there. I'd wonder if maybe the tyres starting to go off a little bit on the Porsche. It's obviously very heavy on its tyres. It uses a lot of, well, probably just, it removes about 3 mil of tread every single time it goes around the corner. So I wonder if maybe that car's starting to feel a little bit rough towards the end of the race. Still another 3 laps to go. So if they can close the gap, I'm sure they will. If they can not squabble, that should be their opportunity to try and get through. And then we drop down to Dan, running in 5th place in the NSX, the white NSX. Again, kind of a bit of no man's land for that driver, not having too much of an issue.
One thing that I've learned from speaking to some of these drivers is that they actually find they can be faster by not pushing their cars, because the more consistency you can have between your laps, the more safe you are. So some of the drivers, you will actually find that they look like they're kind of not cruising along as such, but definitely not pushing it as much as they could, because it's just a less risky way to get around the track while still being at a decent pace.
They definitely do say that smooth is fast, and I do agree. Goodness gracious, the F40 is so loud. I always forget how loud it is. Apologies, headphone listeners at home. Be back towards West End. Just look how well the Ferrari goes in a straight line compared to the oh. What happened there?
Oh my
You were on
God,
board,
what was that?
so we didn't get to see what he did. It was the other Ferrari. He hit the flex tape Ferrari. So his race is going bad to worse. It was Ferrari versus Ferrari cannibalism as well there. Well, that certainly did not go the way that any of them would have hoped. Coming around that corner, I think you're probably at the absolute maximum adhesion on the tyres, and just not able to get the car to sort of deviate from the, to avoid the crashing coming. So sadly about that one. Seeing on the chat as well, someone asking about what kind of lap times. So it should be around the 140s. 140, sort of ranging up to like 143s, depending on how they have spread out across the track. You can still hear.
Yeah, so during qualifying, the fastest time we had set was 141. But obviously qualifying is a little bit different to races in terms of driver behavior. So that 141 was done by Wes, who is pretty much absolutely pushing it all the way down the straights and through every corner, just hanging on for as much grip as he had. Whereas during the race, you're more likely to be a tiny bit more reserved. So we're probably looking around the mid 140s right now on average.
Oh, there we go. I think we just saw something going on here. Was that Walmsley? No, that wasn't. That was Liam. Yes, Liam versus Racing Franco. This is the battle for 7th place. So it's the Lost Mary car that's also plastered in many, many faces that is also now trying to hold on to the back of Racing Franco's Zero Fighter NSX, and there's only a few laps left to go. Oh, we've just lost Archie, the cursed one, from the server. I think this is going to be the main battle to keep an eye on. Lots of squabbling going on between them. See if we can get on the bonnet now. Oh, big clip of the curb, unsettles the car, ends up going wide on exit. Lots of pace lost there. Looking like he's trying to regain it here. Who could be best through this final chicane? Flat out now as they start their final lap of the race, trying to stay in the slipstream. We get under braking. It did look like maybe Liam was hoping to maybe get a bit of a run there. He definitely had better mid-corner speed, but the exit is nothing compared to Racing Franco in the NSX and isn't quite able to do anything this time.
That NSX does look incredible from the rear view, doesn't it?
It is so cool.
So
I just
wide.
feel like the engraved lights and everything. Racing Franco in the rear lights. Very cool.
That is a really cool detail, and that rear spoiler. I love that roof scoop on the top as well. And I believe on the actual race cars, those roof scoops are functional.
It's one of those cars I haven't seen in the flesh. Oh, we're actually about to get our Luke Carnwell coming across the line now, I believe, for the final time. We ought to probably go for him as he crosses it. So that is it. First place goes to Luke Carnwell. And then I believe it is still overhead cam, thundering his way towards the line. Oh no, this is the last lap now. Sorry, do apologise. So this is the final lap. So we cut to them thinking, oh, it was the end of the race. It's not. Oh, and someone's just gone off. That was Liam. Liam just went flying off into the dirt. So he was having a nice battle with Racing Franco and now finds himself way, way off in the gravel and has lost himself a position to Mr. Phil Swift. We've also got cars up as well. We've got Westy. Let's jump to them quickly. Westy gets past Dan. He's done it. The final lap of the race, and he has found a way past.
Oh, it looks like that NSX had the legs on that straight, but then the Supra had the inside of the corner.
That's what we were saying about that sort of balance of performance, that all the cars should be similar pace, but over the space of the entire lap. It's never going to be a case that they all have the exact same power, the exact same aero, all those sort of things. But it's why you get such close racing. You know, yes, you're going to get a big talent. Let's say, you know, like Luke Carnwell this race has absolutely flown away because he hasn't had to deal with traffic. He hasn't had to battle once. He's just been able to keep it together. I think Westy's probably going to be racing a little bit conservatively now to not lose this position. We're jumping back now as finally Luke Carnwell comes across the line in the lovely Coca-Cola. Yeah, the long tail as he comes across the line, weaving and going. He'll be happy with that one. Big finish.
He's done a great job there, and he's actually catching up to someone on the lap previous to him. He almost lapped someone.
See who that is? That's Beans. That was Beans he was catching up with. So there we go. Overhead cam comes across the line in second place, followed by Oak Carnwell in third place. So that makes out your podium. And then we have, who was that just behind them? That was Snooky coming home in fourth position. Westy and Dan coming home as well in fifth and sixth respectively. Oh, Westy going off, and there's Dan as well. Oh, and there's a fight all the way to the line. Oh, there we go. Racing Franco holds on to seventh, and Shitfire not quite able to do it. And then in the background as well, you can see, who was that? Oh, that was Liam, actually. Sorry, I've gone to the wrong car. So Liam and Swifty coming across the line together as well. Bladen now coming across the line. We'll jump to Bladen, first race back after recovering from his back injury. So fair play to him for getting back behind the wheel of the sim rig and doing some bits and pieces, getting himself back into the swing of it. Taylor coming across the line now, and I believe our final driver across the line is going to be Shitbox. Or am I mistaken? No, it's the Beans mobile, isn't it? The Beans will be the last one across the line. Bit of a race to forget there for Beans.
Yeah, so that was definitely a race full of plenty, what's the word, interesting moments. Definitely some that'll leave a few people feeling a bit frustrated.
Yeah, I really would like to know what happened there. I must try and remember after the second race, we will try and have a chat with drivers and see if we can find out what actually happened with that Beans incident at the end of the main straight, because that was way off. Oh, there we go, and a huge slide in the background we just saw from overhead cam.
Yeah, he does like a little dance after he's done his job, doesn't he?
Oh, maybe slightly offline that time though. The cars make their way back into the pits now, apart from Westy, who's decided to go on round again for whatever reason. Well, that is an awful pit entrance, isn't it? God, you would not want to be trying to do that quickly mid-race.
No.
Luckily, these aren't long enough races to actually need to jump into the pits. But there we go.
I do think if it was any longer than that, then some people would be wanting to go in to have a quick tyre change.
Yeah, so I think especially some of those cars. I think overhead cam is going to be one to look out for. Obviously, going to be a reversed grid next time round, so it should really shake things up going into the next race. It's just lovely listening to this, you know, this big engines just sort of burbling away.
No, it is so good. Even just from takeover, it's just so good.
Let's see if we can get some. You can't hear it quite so well there, unless Carnwell has turned his off, which he possibly has. We zoom in. Does it get louder? Doesn't get louder there.
So those Supras actually have their exhaust side mounted in front of the rear wheels.
Hang on then. Oh yeah, that would make sense. That great big load of steam up
so
there.
that's where your noise is going to be from with those ones.
Yeah. It doesn't get any louder. Even though it's running, it's barely running at this point. Oh, there we go. We've got one of the lost three wheels just
slow-mo burnout over here.
It's just doing its thing. Very cool. That's a new addition. The wheels are a new addition. And while we're here, great opportunity to give a shout out again to The Driven Show. You know, find them where you find your podcasts. I believe they're also on YouTube as well. They've done some proper interesting chats. They were at the Dakar as well the other day, which was pretty interesting, listening to sort of a boots on the ground, unfiltered chat from someone that was there. Because normally it's fairly, you know, politically team-based chimwags that you hear. No one really wants to say exactly what they want to say, but it was quite nice hearing sort of a real-life person being there saying, this is actually what it's like. It's not that glamorous, which is well, overhead cam seems to have decided to park in the back of Shitfire for whatever reason. I think we just do need to zoom in and just have a quick look at just the ridiculous I just noticed that on the back of it. Fuck off, Archie. Just the amount of detail that has gone into the livery on that car. Oh, and speaking of amazing liveries as well, there we go. It's the best car on the grid. I think we all agree. The delicious little Honda Active with its cute little face. So, I do love it. I will very much miss this Honda Active when it's no longer the championship, and I have no reason to be obsessed with it as quite as much as I am. But I'll find a way. I will find a way. So it's going to be interesting to see once these cars actually stack up. Let's go for a bit of a wide shot. Can we get a nice wide shot of all the cars? Can you tell that Assetto Corsa isn't really designed for doing this kind of thing? It does not like it when you try and make it do things like this. It's just saying, no, just stop trying to make me look pretty. Just use me for racing simulations. But we refuse. We will continually try and force it. Oh, there we go. Liam has finally stopped doing his stationary burnout at this point.
Okay, so his tyres are going to be ready for the next one then.
I am slightly I think it might have been a graphical error, possibly. But you never know, because they have now stopped, haven't they? So there's no more spinning wheels. Having a bit of a jump through. Obviously, we are just in the downtime between races. So you have to wait just a minute or two longer, and then the cars will teleport their way to the grid in a reverse grid fashion. So that does mean that Beans gets to start on pole, which I imagine lots of people at home will be very happy to see the Beans absolutely going for it. And apparently just doing a very slow front wheel drive burnout.
Oh, great.
So, again, good old Assetto Corsa, giving us joyous things. In fact, let's jump on board and have a bit of a look at some of the beanie goodness. Come on, cameras. Sort your life out. There we go. Right. This is actually the best opportunity to have a run through the grid as they stand. So, Beans in pole position, Shipbox in second, Taylor in third. Then we have Bladen in fifth. Let's jump back a bit so we can see some more cars. Liam in... God, that is not at all easy to read because all the numbers are all wrong. Sixth is Liam. Then we have Phil Swift, Shitfire. Then we have the NSX of... And that is Shitbox? No, it's not. You know what? It's all getting a little bit wobbly. There we go. So it was Racing Franco, of course it is. Then we have Dan, then Westy, Snooky, Oak Carnwell, Overhead Cam. Then we have Luke Carnwell at the back. The cameras are all kind of a little bit hovery and a bit strange. But there we go. We have a vague idea of what's going on, and that's all that matters, really, I think, is that we vaguely know what kind of races are happening. We are waiting for the lights to go once again. We will jump up to our pole position car. Nice wide angle screen to try and get a bit of a shot of what's going on. Still about 40 seconds until the race starts. I think a big one to keep an eye on is going to be the Supras off the line again and see what happens, because after a bit of a bad start, we now obviously find Liam fairly high up the grid again in this reverse order.
So hopefully when the light goes green this time round, all the drivers are going to be on the ball, because in the last one, we had a couple of people who didn't start, and that's part of what the pile-up stemmed from.
Just notice Bladen's going to be starting from the pits. He disconnected and has got himself back in. He will be starting from the pits. Right, lights are going red. We go live for round 10 very, very soon. Here, Autopolis. There we go. It's a great start for most people. Beans flies off the line. Hopefully going to see everyone getting down towards the corner. It's all getting a bit wide in the back. We cut back a little bit. Snook getting out and wide, nearly takes out Cameron.
Oh no, that's just fun.
But yeah,
he's facing the wrong way now. That's not good.
Yeah, Snooky facing the wrong way. And in fact, as Snooky managed to get that car going, or is he stuck? He has got himself going. There's Bladen, who started from the pits, rally crossing his way through the circuit, jumping on board for this mid-pack battle at the moment. Liam gets spun round by Westy. The Carmel brothers now nearly side by side, going to be absolutely battling out. We've got two cars going sideways. Shitbox and Taylor, I think we just saw having a big old wobble. So at the moment, this is going the way of Beans. He's managing to escape. Overhead Cam with a big dive up the inside into turn 7, I believe. Another car going off. Who's that?
That's Beans. Massive.
Yeah, huge destruction. So from leading the race, Phil Swift getting into the back of the Carnwell boys as well. Westy now trying to take advantage and push his way up. It all went ever so slightly mad for a minute there, didn't it? Who's leading this race? Right, Shitfire is now leading the race. So hoping to maybe try and get that Ferrari to stick in pole position. He's got the two NSXs right behind him, looking very, very racy indeed. Let's see if we can get a rear wing shot. Yes, we can. It's the world's loudest car in the world, though. Staying way off the racing line.
All of that for me was really weird, because first race, it all happened at the start. But this race, it was about half a lap in, and then everything just went really weird.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure sort of what happened, really. I think it was just a case of everybody just Maybe pushing a little bit too hard. Here comes one of the Carnwell boys pushing his way through. That's Luke Carnwell, very closely followed by Cameron himself. Again, have we got a rear wing shot on this one? Big bump there. Have we got a rear wing over the NSX? Yes, we do. We are basically mounted on that air intake on the roof. Luke Carnwell using the aero of that lovely long tail to try and get themselves together. We've also now got, I believe that is Shitbox in the back versus one of the other Carnwell boys. Going around the outside here is going to be very brave. Overhead cam looks to the inside, tries to get the traction. Just about manages to. You can see over the rear wing the battle's going on slightly further up the track as well. I believe, oh, that is Dan. We'll go to Dan for this bit of the battle. But as soon as we cut away, the battle moves. And suddenly it's overhead in amongst it all. Let's see if we can actually get a nice steering wheel-esque shot. There we go. So we get an idea of what we're looking forward to. Coasting his way through there. Going out super wide, trying to get a bit of a switchback going. Shifts down mid-corner. Tries to get the power. He's going to be to the inside, but he's got a racing track in front of him. Oh, and there was another crash in the back as well then.
That just then, I don't know if you saw that, but as soon as he hit the bump on the inside of that corner, his back end just lifted and spun him.
Yeah, I don't think there was much he could have done then. I think it was literally a case of bounce, big snap oversteer, and then that was it. Good night, Vienna. So at the moment, Shitfire still holding on to the lead. Jumping on board with Liam now as he chases after the back of Racing Franco. Do love the Lost Mary car. The Pikachus, the other little weird odds and sods on it. The obviously absolutely unhinged interior that we will try and get a bit of a look at here as he chases after the back of Racing Franco. Very, very close ratios on this car as well. I had a bit of a test drive in it the other day, and I could not believe how quickly you have to change gear all the time. And a big move there. Going to be on the outside. Is he going to be far enough ahead to maybe close the door under braking? No, and he goes quite deep, although he's managed to maintain the pace. So we might get a slightly better exit. But Racing Franco gives him a little bit of... Raining a little bit of paint there between them two boys. Whether that was intentional or not entirely sure. But they did seem to come together for whatever reason. We've got other battles going on slightly further up ahead as well. Oak Carnwell still being absolutely mobbed like a packet of chips at the Beach and Seagulls by Westy. Here we go. Obviously we saw these cars go up against each other earlier on and there was nothing between them, and still there is nothing between them. So different drivers under braking. The Supra definitely closes up, and it looks like it's closing up mid-corner as well. He's going to be close enough to be in the aero wash. Should be able to get a little bit of a toe. Looks to the inside under braking. Can't quite do it. But definitely starting to apply pressure now. And that can sometimes make all the difference. Once you start applying the pressure, you can make the driver in front of you just make an accident themselves. So Shitbox versus Racing Franco versus Snooky. This little gaggle of cars starting to stack up just a little bit more again.
I think there's definitely more examples of cars being this close to each other in this race compared to the first. I feel like the first one, people are a bit more spaced out. This one, though, there's still a bunch of definitely more driving battles happening in the first few laps of this one.
Yeah, I think that incident at the start of the last race with the non-start by Liam, I think that really split the grid up. You had drivers that managed to get away unscathed, and then drivers that really did get held up significantly, and it really split the pack. And then once you break the pack up, then everybody ends up spreading out because they're not having to battle quite as much. People are able to just essentially hot lap and see what they can do. We're going to jump up to the Carnwells. Oh, actually, no, we're not. We're going to jump up to the battle at the very front. Shitfire versus Luke Carnwell. Luke Carnwell looking to try and get 2 pole positions in a row. He's come all the way from the back of the grid. and now finds himself all over the back of Shitfire. That has suddenly become a very, very close race between them. Nope, we're going to go for the Carnwell car because that's slightly less loud. Still very, very loud as we just gaze upon Tyler the Creator on the back of the car. I'm still going to say it's the OnlyFans car, even though I have been told multiple times it's not OnlyFans. But if I see OF, I think it's OnlyFans. So
I think in today's age, it's hard to think of anything else when you see those two letters.
to be fair, like the actual company OnlyFans did sponsor a GT3 car in the British GT3 series. Yeah, I can't remember if it was last season or the season before, but yeah, the main sponsor. So the entire car just had OnlyFans down the side of it, and whenever the commentators came to it, they were always a little bit sheepish, sort of mentioning the obvious sponsor on the side of the car, because it's not really daytime TV. Yeah, it's not daytime TV conversation, is it really?
No, not really. Which is funny because OnlyFans isn't even just about what it's known for now. It's actually just meant to be a platform where you can put anything on there and have subscriptions, but well, it just went in a certain direction.
Well, I mean, if you build it, they will come, and that's not always necessarily just COME kind of come, is it really?
Exactly.
There's certainly some strange things that go on the internet, but I mean, fair play. If there was someone out there silly enough to to buy photos of my hairy, ugly feet, then I probably would sell them as well. But no one is that blind to want to actually do that. No one wants to see my gross old hooves. So, if you're at home and you're thinking, oh, I really wonder what this guy's feet look like, maybe I do. Maybe I do just start up an Only Feets.
Yeah, that's it.
But there's no free feet pics for anyone, I'm afraid. I've blurred them out on my Insta, so you can't see them.
Yeah.
Oh, big slide from Cameron there. He's obviously really pushing quite hard already. And we saw towards the end of the last race that his tyres started to maybe eke off just that little bit. I think the best shot for this is probably going to be from Westy's car. We sort of got a... Oh, we don't really want to just stare at him. And we don't want to look over the back either. That's quite nice. Oh, there's a change. There's a change at the front. There we go. Carnwell has got himself through. He is now in pole position. So Shitfire has dropped back one place. Hopefully, that's not going to unsettle him too much, and he can hold on to second place. But he has got some big names coming up behind him. And say Westy obviously struggled with luck and consistency last race, but this time round seems to be doing a very good job of it, and now looks to the outside. Has he got the aero to go all the way round? Maybe under braking here and be able to do something. No! Oh. Cameron absolutely sliced to the nose off him then to try and defend his position.
That Supra does look like it's giving Cameron a challenge though.
Yeah, I think the fact that car is so sort of essentially sticky going through here, that I think it's going to really challenge Cameron on sort of mid-corner and exit speeds. Oh, we got a car off. That's Bladen. I'm very sorry to say, sorry, Bladen. You've gone walkies again out into the dirt. In fact, he's still trying to get on. I'm not sure what's going on there. Let's jump to Bladen. Having a bit of an issue getting himself going. Yeah. Does get himself going. But yeah, that did not go the way they...
Some of the viewers won't know this, but when you go off, whether it's gravel or grass, once you rejoin, your tyres are still going to have some of that on them. So you're not just going to rejoin and instantly be able to put your foot right down. You'll actually have to take it easy for the first, even just a few meters while you get all of the crap off your wheels.
But it can really catch you out, especially like your rear tyres all absolutely covered in grass and debris. You go to put your foot down to get yourself going as quickly as possible. Suddenly the car snaps. You then realise you don't have as much front grip as you thought you had either. And it can all get very quickly wrong and very sideways again. And then you just end up dipping onto the dirt and the grass again and making it even worse.
Yeah, I've seen some people accidentally just putting themselves back onto the grass.
I think we've all done it. If any of you have ever played some, a proper racing sim where it actually does simulate tyre damage and dirt. It is very easy. You sort of get that red mist of, you know, oh, for God's sake, I've made a mistake. You jump straight back on the power and try and get going again, and you immediately bin it. And at that point, you're just sort of thinking, is there any point even continuing? But half the time, yes. So 8 laps of 12. So this is lap 8 of 12. We are in the middle of right now. Jumping back to another little battle going on. And it's a, it's actually a nice little trio of NSXs going down. They looked a lot closer on the map than I think they actually are in real life. Apologies if there was any weird noises in the background there. My Labrador decided it wanted to try and eat the remains of my dinner off the coffee table behind me. Get away from me, you're in trouble. Don't want to pet you right now. You smell like curry. The joys of not having an official comms booth and actually just being in the living room in front of your PC is you do sometimes get lovely visits from a ginormous sort of 7-stone Labrador that wants to come over and just be very excited. Oh, here we go. Finally, a position change possibly going on. Not quite. Westy is very much under pressure now. You have to start calling him Freddie Mercury when he's under pressure that much. And the Carnwell boys have really shown how good they are in those long tails pretty much all season long. I'm amazed they're not leading the championship, to be honest, because they do just seem to be consistently quick. But now it looks like Shitfire is going to be under serious pressure.
Oh, that Supra is right up the back end of Cam right now.
From this angle, though, you could see that the Supra does lose a little bit towards the end of the straight, but there's a mistake there. And that's Shitfire off, and now that is Shitfire out of second place. Through goes Westy, and as Oak Carnwell has managed to get past Overhead Cam as well, or Cameron as many know him.
Very sideways from Cam there, and he's probably not happy with that because he has no ABS in that launch. So for him to be able to slow down enough without locking up and losing control himself is very impressive.
Oh, we've got a car that's stopped there. That was Beans. I think we've just lost Beans to the pits. Got absolutely bombing that gearbox, trying to get the car to slow down. As you were saying, no ABS, so you've got to do whatever you can do. But you could hear the wastegate as well. I think it was absolutely chattering and going, or the limiter. I'm not entirely sure, but I know if that was my car making those noises, I'd be a little bit wary.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, I'd be a bit worried about my bank account for that one.
I think we've all done it. Everyone's done it in a new car. They're like, yeah, I can drop a gear here. You drop a gear and then suddenly you're like, oh my goodness, I am well over the limit.
Yeah, a bit more than bargain for.
I think it was, my issue was I went from, I had a Vauxhall Nova, so it was only a little 1.2, but you know, they're quite high revving little 8-valve engines. And then I jumped straight into a great big 2.5 litre turbo diesel Mercedes, which I managed to pick up very cheaply. And yeah, just forgot that obviously diesels just don't rev, especially that sort of era. They were, you know, it was a.
They rev around about $4,000, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. And I was, oh, there we go. Oh, can't make a mistake. It's a lovely onboard shot there we caught as well of that one. Now people starting to spread out a little bit at the front. Look now, so further back we've still got battles going on, but at the front things have kind of calmed down a little bit. Just coming towards the end of lap 10 now. Actually, no, this is the beginning of lap 10, sorry. So a slightly more civilized thing going on. Racing Franco has really managed to pull away. This was a, you know, sort of a trio of cars only a few laps ago. But Racing Franco obviously feeling significantly more comfortable in the NSX than maybe some of the other drivers. And he has absolutely flown away. I'm intrigued to see if any of the other cars have got obscure interiors that we haven't noticed yet. Do we have anything on this one? No, we don't even have an interior shot on that one, so a bit of a shame. But a lovely, lovely shot there. You can see the aero on the front of that car.
Is that the car with the tyre writing that shouldn't be red?
We'll know if it locks up.
I can't remember.
I think it might be, to be fair. Yeah. Yeah, I am far too white and middle-aged to be saying the branding of the tyre on the side of this car. Just seeing in the chat, someone, bit of a mistake there from Dan.
Good save, though.
Yeah, that was a
solid save.
very strong recovery from him there. Oh, but then he nearly makes a mistake, goes a little bit deep into the corner. Again,
You know what? I reckon he's a bit shaken from that mishap.
it does happen. If you're racing and you're sort of in the groove and you're sort of like, I don't want to say you're just going through the motions, but you're consistently lapping and you kind of feel like you're doing everything right. If you suddenly make a mistake and you don't necessarily know what happened, why that incident happened, we've all done it where your tyres, maybe you've just overdone your tyres, you've overdone your brakes, and suddenly you brake at your normal spot and the car just doesn't slow down, and you're like, oh my god, I'm going to go deep, and then suddenly you are panicking in every single braking zone going into it. Again, maybe not on Mario Kart you're ever going to notice. Oh, that was a big old wiggle there from Snook. I don't know if that was actually happening or whether that was a bit of maybe the old net code coming in. But there was definitely a bit of a sort of an unsightly wiggle. Seems to be the closest battle to keep an eye on at the moment. Actually, I just remember this is the slightly quieter F40, unless they've changed this one as well. They've changed this one as well. It's just as loud. Let's go to Snooky so we can actually hear what's going on. That's more civilized. Well, there we go. Final lap has now just been started. Well, he's washed out wide there, hasn't he? Might be able to hold on to it. He's going to have to go very defensive here. He's going to lose a lot of exit speed, but he's covered it off. He had the car in just the right place. So although Snooky was much, much quicker, he wasn't able to take advantage of it. Now I think he's going to be able to take advantage of it down towards turn 1.
Oh, that sounds good going past.
Yeah, I'm always so impressed with a simulation of this age, because I can't even remember how old the original Assetto Corsa is. Essentially, you think there's 2 games that have come out since this. You've obviously got Assetto Corsa Competizione, which is sort of my normal grounds. Obviously only being GT cars, but that's a fairly old game in itself. And now obviously there's the new Assetto Corsa 3 that is sort of, I think it's still in early access at the moment.
So the original Assetto Corsa, what we're playing right now, I'm pretty sure that's a 2014 game, so this year will be 11 years old.
Which
Assetto Corsa Evo, which has just dropped about a month ago, is still early access. They're still working on all bit of contacts from those 2 cars there. So Assetto Corsa Evo is still early access and they're working on it, but it's cool that they've given us a game to play while oh my god, huge loss of control from the F40 there, unfortunately.
We've
got to
give a shout out. Yeah, I think overstretched the car a little bit there, didn't they? Got to give a shout out to Luke Carnwell. 2 pole positions here this evening. They'll be very, very happy with that. Westy finally had some redemption for race 1 and finds himself in 2nd place. Overhead Cam in 3rd. Then we have Oak Carnwell coming home in 4th. Then we have, I believe that is Shipfire coming along, closely followed by Liam. Who else is coming across the line there? I believe that is Snooky coming along. And oh yes, and then obviously we have the Flex Tape Ferrari, which is not that one. It's, I always forget the names. It's not that one either. Hang on, where are we looking? That's Swifty. It's Swift. There we go. Swift coming along there. Then we got Racing Franco, who really managed to stretch his legs away from Shitbox towards the end of that race. Really did make a big old run. I think we do need to quickly just jump across because oh, there we go. We saw one of the cars crashing. I imagine we were probably going to see some drifting going on, but we're on board now. Hopefully we're going to see some more skids.
Yeah, I think if anyone's going to do some finishing skids, it's probably going to be Cam because he loves that.
Well, I think
Oh, oh no, we just had a massive crash over there. Oh,
maybe one of the
dear.
Carnwells trying, but not quite succeeding as they might have hoped for. This is quite a civilized drive. Oh, there we go. That's more
there we
like
go.
it. Sending it now.
Oh, bit of a wiggle on the exit.
You get a nice interior? Yeah, we can. Dropping it down. Liam taking it nice and gently. Oh, bit of a Scandi flick into that one. Ooh.
Oh no.
It's fine. It's all post-race. It doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, I guess it doesn't matter anymore. Not that it's cheap.
Just seeing someone actually, was it Pete Garnett had put in the chat, do any of the other cars have ABS and traction control? Yeah, I think some of them do definitely have ABS. I know the Supras definitely have ABS after driving them, as I was poverty spec driving them with a controller, and I found them reasonably drivable even with a controller, to be fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you have...
I reckon the F40s don't. I think F40s in real life never have them.
No, they're kind of that age where I doubt they would have them. Oh, here we go. Here comes the madness. The crashing into everybody all over the shop.
Donuts in the middle of the...
Yeah, gotta love a donut.
Right. Yeah, Cam with the entry. Yeah, nah,
Oh, here we go. That's a good
they've all
shot.
done a good job tonight, to be fair.
Again, and actually, to be fair, not as much time to practice for a lot of drivers compared to what we've had over the previous time. We've, you know, it was quite short between the last round and this time as well. So round 4 and 5, both being sort of well within a month of each other. Obviously, the Christmas break gave people a big opportunity to have some time. Yeah, let's see if we can find other people. There we go.
Oh, look at that. That does look good. That's a shot right there. Supra in the background, slaps off the wall, but it's okay.
Trying to see who else we can see. Oh, there we go. We've got Racing Franco absolutely obliterating those NSX tyres.
Cam's just done a reverse burnout.
Yeah, I'm always amazed how a game that is this old, I mean, so I know obviously it's been modded to within an inch of its life, but I am always so surprised how well these games end up looking still at this point. Oh, there, there's... It's just kind of madness. They're now finally going into the pits. There we go. A bunch of people decided to jump into the pits.
Oh, Cam's just spun it on his way in.
Can you imagine this is what F1's like?
Oh, mate, I could not even... I couldn't imagine that. That'd be insane.
Just all battering the multi-million pound cars off each other and off the walls, just having a good
I
old
think
laugh.
that's what it is for me. It's just the money involved. I couldn't even fathom it.
Oh, there we go. That's a nice rolling burnout.
Oh, that is good. Yeah, that is.
Yeah.
That is insane.
just noticed that I think that's Snooky just parked the wrong way, as you do. Someone's still going for it. Who is still out there? I can't see them on the camera. Let's try and... Or is that someone just revving it off the limit?
You're a lot of rev limiter.
Someone's burning it out still. We'll try and find them. Who is it? I don't know. We never quite caught who it was absolutely burning the tyres. But that is the end of that race. So looking at it, it was Luke Carnwell in first, Westy second, Overhead Cam third, Oak Carnwell fourth, Shipfire fifth, Liam in sixth, Snooky seventh, Phil Swift eighth, Racing Franco in ninth, and Shipbox in 10th. And we should be able to... Oh, see, annoyingly, I've got an app on that means it's really hard to do anything with a mouse. It keeps me in the pits, stops the car coming out the pits at any point. It's great for commentating, unless you're trying to do things like this. My mouse just pings across unless I manage to click within 4 seconds of the last reset. Nearly. Yes, did it. So then carrying on, 11th was Dan, Taylor in 12th place, Beans in 13th, and Bladen in 14th place. Archie, the cursed one, obviously not finishing the race. And then me and you, we didn't leave the pits in the little Honda Actis because we're very civilized like that. We just stayed nice and still. Right, we should be able to now get some of the drivers in for a bit of a chat. We'll have to get myself out of here. Oh, there it is. Right. Whoa. That's probably made it all look really gross for you at home. Apologies. I pressed the wrong one a little bit quick. Let's get rid of the music. We don't need the music playing in the background. And we will jump across to the other Discord. Obviously, this is live straight in with the racers, so apologies if there's any language that anybody doesn't like, but I'm sure if you're here you kind of grasp the idea of what this is. It's not for kids. It's very much for a laugh.
No, it's for the boys. It's for the guys.
It's for the boys. It's for the girls. But it's definitely not for the kids, is it? Right. So we will jump across. If you want to jump in there as well into the main chat, and we'll try to have a chinwag with people. 2 seconds to get it all switched over.
Run out. I can't really help it.
Franco defending said in a positive way.
These commentators are here.
You are
Right, hello, guys.
Hello.
Hello,
boys. How was that to watch?
That was some pretty
Unreal.
fantastic stuff. Race 1, what on earth happened, Liam?
We had some drivers who looked like they just didn't start the race at all.
Yeah, my shifter's broken. It's not recognising first gear, so I took off with no gears and then had to switch into second. So I feel a bit bad, but it is what it is.
So it sounded like user error to me, almost certainly. That definitely sounds like a user error. But the main sort of, I want to say, superstar of the evening is, of course, it's one of the blooming Carnwell boys, isn't it? I think it was Luke, wasn't it? Was it 2 pole positions in 2 races?
Yes, it
Yawn.
was.
In it.
Yeah.
Have a day off, mate. Get alive. Who's else doing a wanker sign right now?
You see, I'm the best there is. I wake up and piss excellence.
Come on, guys, let him have his moment because it won't happen again.
But it was very impressive to see you work your way through the field. The one question we do need to ask, Beans, in race 1, what on earth happened with that crash? I think it was with Shitbox at the end of the pit straight. You were on the grass on the inside, and it was far too early to be a mistake where you turned in too early, and far too late on the straight to be a mistake where you were still recovering from the final corner. What on earth happened?
Yeah, I think he just had enough, to be honest.
Yeah,
I'll speak on his behalf, seeing as I was on the other side of the accident. I was in his slipstream, and I think he topped out before me. It looked like he braked, but he just ran out of go, and I went straight up his ass, and I didn't even buy him a drink. I did apologise, trying to give him the position back, but he was just too slow. So
He is still in the chat, but he didn't respond. I assume he has thrown his headset across the room and left.
I'd like to say he's had enough, but you know, yeah, I'd like to say that's exactly what happened. It was simply a racing incident, but.
Incident. One of those racing incidents. And I'm not sure if there might be a surprise for Liam, possibly on his livery when he watches the replays. Possibly. Yeah, there might be a surprise for him there. I'm not sure if he knows what's going on inside his car.
Oh, yeah, it's me from when I was like 16. Cam did it while I was away.
He's answered that question, just not about the crash.
So what was the question for me?
Sure, it was. Well, no, it wasn't Liam. Liam, you didn't start the race. And then who was it that he crashed into? It was Shitbox, wasn't it?
I think it was everyone. Everyone. That race was carnage.
It was probably the messiest race we've had so far.
Out 3 times.
Race 1 was.
I saw Matt die.
Oh, don't stop.
Ask Matt how many times he's been taken out, Tim.
How many times have you been taken out, Matt? Not by another boy.
How many races have we done?
4.
10. We've done 10.
So we've done 10. 10 times.
One really bad race, or it's only one every time.
I'm seeing a pattern here.
Every time.
I think it's been one every time, every single time.
Again, it sounds
Just
like
don't park on the racetrack, Matt. What's your problem?
Fuck off.
Well, I think on that note, what a great way to end it. As always, feel free to play any disgusting noises that I know you all have in your Discords.
I have no idea what you mean.
It has to be the Linkin Park one to end it.
I have no idea what you mean.
damage.
No, don't play music. Don't play music. Don't play music. Okay, stop it.
Right. On that one, we'll call it a night. Big shout out to Driven. I've had to mute their end because otherwise, yeah, we're definitely going to get copyright strikes. But yeah, thank you ever so much for joining us. Next time round, I'm pretty sure we are at the Nürburgring next time, so we can see how that goes. But yeah, join us next time. Don't know where it's going to be yet, but yeah, absolute madness. Thank you ever so much for joining us again this evening, and we will see you later.
There might be something outside your window, but you just never know. It could be something right past the turnpike gates, but you'll just never know. If my velocity starts to make you sweat, then just don't let go. And if the heaven ain't got a vacancy, then we just